Hello, crafty friends. It's Melissa. Welcome back to my channel. So earlier today, I put out a video. It was a My Creative Time project share, and I made a little album, this album here, using the little fairy as a bee and using the beehive and everything, and the 3 3/4 by 4 3/4 dies to make this little album here. I wanted to do a follow-up video on this and show you guys how very easy these are and how you can change them up. So I decided to make another album and change it just slightly so that you can see that just by changing your score lines, it changes everything up a little bit. Now, what I like about this particular set here is that you can really utilize the best part, utilize a lot more of your cardstock. In other words, you're not going to have nearly as much waste. I think this is a perfect size. I think it's very easy and adaptable. I like the fact that you can make these super quick. What I was thinking about earlier today was I made another one, and here's the one that I made. Okay, this is the same concept, same size. The spine is the same size. They're both 1 inch. However, this one has 3 inserts inside of it, okay? And this one only has 1. So to me, this one is sort of like if you wanted to send a friend a card, but no, let's make it a little more personal and elevate it just a little bit because it's just a few scores, then you could make them a cute little album and then tuck a card into the back. Now I'm going to show you how I made this one with just the little one insert here, okay? So let me get out my pieces. Now here's what you're going to need. Now, I made this whole album based on the concept of this die set here with the sizes and everything and using it for all the main pieces, the base pieces of my album. So what I did was I took a piece of cardstock and I cut it. By the way, your cardstock is 8.5 by 11.5 inches, right? For a full sheet of cardstock. So all you need to do is cut on the 8.5 inch side. You got this. Just cut it at 4 3/4 this way. Okay. And then all you have to do is put it on your scoreboard, score it at 3 3/4, and then all I do is flip it and score it at 3 3/4 again. Okay, that's all I did. And then you end up with this piece with 3 3/4 on each side and 1 inch in the middle. Then for my insert page, I cut a piece 4 3/4 by 4 1/4. And the reason I cut it at 4 1/4 is so that when I put it in here, I can score it at 3 3/4, and then I have a 1/2 inch piece here. Now this 1/2 inch piece, the difference between this book here and this book here is that this one has this particular score. It has a 1/2 inch. This one has a 1/4 inch. So in other words, you would do your paper 4 3/4 by 4, and then you would just score it at 1/4 inch, and you can get 3 of them inside of this spine. Whereas with the 1/2 one, you can only get 1, which is fine by me either way. Now, keep in mind, if you wanted more pages in your book, then you need to make your spine thicker. Okay, so that's just going to change your measurements by however many pages, how much room you want in between each page, because that's what this piece determines. It determines how much room you're going to have in between each page. So if you're a bulky crafter and you like to pop things up and you like to layer, then you might want to go with thicker, because if you do it with just 1/4 inch, you're not going to be able to, in other words, you've only got so much room in between. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to really, really amp it up and you want to have like a lot of bulk, then you'll want to have a thicker score line there. So let me show you how easy it is to do this. You literally are just taking your piece and you're going to fold it, of course, burnish your lines. And I didn't bring my score tool over here because I'm never prepared. One of these days I'll get my life together, you guys. So again, just make sure that you burnish it well. Now all you're doing is you're going to take this piece, and it doesn't matter if you attach it to the back or if you attach it to the front, okay? With a 1/2 inch, that puts your middle page right in the middle of that spine, Okay, with 1/4 of an inch, like I said, you can get more than one in there, and because you have a full inch, you can get 3, which gives you 1/4 in the front, and 1/4 in the back, and 1/4 in between each one. So, but for this purpose, I'm just doing the one with the 1/2 inch. And I decided to do this on red because I am going to go ahead and use this after I demonstrate for you guys, because I'm going to make a strawberry album. So, but I wanted to show you guys how quick and easy it is to put these albums together. Now, there's lots of ways that you can do spines. I have done them so many different ways. This is the quickest and easiest. So if you're bulk making, by the time you layer all this up and get it all together, trust me, it is plenty sturdy. So all I did was take my piece, I folded it up here, put this in there, make sure I'm not going to bother that spine at all, and then line all the pieces up where they're lined up on both sides. Press it down really, really, really good. I open back up again. I come back, and I guess I'll just use this because I did not bring my bone folder over. And look at me making a mess already. Okay, that wasn't good, but anyway, you get the gist of it. And then you've got your book. Basically, that's it, okay? So let me show you this little book after I did it. I used, as you can see, I used the 3 3/4 by 4 3/4 layers here. So I've got that outer layer and that middle layer there, or that outer layer and the other layer, sorry, to create the front of the book. I've added that little beehive, I've added a little bee, and I've used a collection, the new Doodlebug collection, to do the entire album. So when you open this, all I did again was use those same 2 pieces, that scallop and that, and I put the scallop in the back, and then I layered this other scallop on top and cut it literally in half. Just cut it in half. I used some scrap foam that I had to go all around the edges to create a pocket. So let me show you guys. See, all I did was create a pocket. And then I've got room to slip something down in there that's super cute, like all of these little cut aparts, which are these little tags. Then I've used some ephemera just to decorate really quick. And like I said, because this collection has all the ephemera and all the cuteness with it, it goes by really fast. All I'm doing is just cutting base pieces, really. So again, I cut that scallop piece, and then instead of going across this direction, I layered it going this direction, and I added another piece here, this one and this one, so that you could mount a picture to it and just tuck it in. Super cute. I popped up some of that ephemera. Again, like I said, I like the fact that I have that room in between these layers so that I could really get it bulked up. And then on the next page, I used a piece of ephemera and I created a little pocket. So you could slip a picture down in there, or you could slip something like this in there. You could attach a picture to the front of that and then just stick that in there, and it's super, super cute. The back, again, I layered it with those 2 pieces, popped it up on foam, and I created a tiny little card that you could include with, you know, this as a gift to a friend. And just super simple. I use, again, more pieces from the 3 3/4 by 4 3/4 to layer the front of this up. And this, I believe, is 2.5 by 3.5, I believe. So super simple, super easy. Now, I've got this one pretty bulky, so I have to be careful poking that in there. But see, that is so simple. And I just used, again, another piece of ephemera to really make it cute. And literally, I made this album in like an hour. And like I said, to me, I'm looking at this as if I wanted to give something to a friend that's just a little bit more than a card, you know, just to thank you or something. This would be so cute if you had pictures, especially like the Instax pictures or something, that you could just put, you know, tuck in all the different spots on the inside of this and give it to a friend. Super cute, super easy. Again, here's that first one that I did. This one I did put some ribbon on it to tie it together. I didn't do that on that one. This one, like I said, all I did was I cut the pages a 1/4 of an inch smaller and scored them at 1/4 of an inch. So you could get, you know, those 3 in the middle instead of the 1. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, that is my little tutorial. If you do not have this die set, I'm telling you, it is worth its weight in gold. It is so useful. So many things you can do with it. You've seen how quick and easy you can make the base of something. I mean, it's really this simple. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please comment below. Please like and share. I really appreciate all the support. And if you want to order anything from my creative time, especially, you know, all the goodness that I'm always sharing with you guys on how to do the albums, make sure that you use my coupon code. That's Melissa, Melissa, and that just saves you 10%. And so we got to save as much as we can, right? Because, you know, us crafters, we like to shop. So until the next crafty video, you guys, happy crafting.